Let's look on. Here we go. We are live on Oz Property Investors Wednesday night. We bring the big names. We have the big fun. How you going, Bernadette? How's your day been?
Yeah, I'm great, Jeff. My day's been good. Yep, really good.
That is fantastic. Really appreciate you coming on. And Joe, how are you going as well? What's been happening to you on there?
I'm going good, mate. I've had my current 5G upgrade about an hour ago. So I've got the So if I start speaking Chinese, I apologize. It's
Joe, you got man.
We're going to start conspiracy theories. Anyway, so if I am I don't know what I'm going to be like for this hour. So if I do start to fade, let me know and do something about it.
I'll just kick him out.
Exactly. Just kick me out. But I'm pumped for this one. I love a renovation. Jeff, you love a renovation. Bernadette has been loving renovations for a long time, and you've got all the expertise. So I'm pumped. How are you, Jeff? How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm fantastic as well. Fighting fits, and I need to challenge you to make me go for a run, because you were going for a run today, and I need to get back into that. So the thing I want people to throw lots of questions, lots of comments, because the more comments and questions, the more excited our guests get. I don't know. It's just there's a fever pitch when people throw questions and comments and love at the guests. So throw those on, and we'll get into it. So we'll get into it anyway, though.
I feel like with renovation, it's one of those ones that can have a lot of back and forth, like with those questions. So I think that'll add a lot of value for everyone.
Definitely, yeah. So let's get straight into the kind of the run sheet here. So Bernadette, I hope we did prep you half. We gave you half an hour. So normally we give people about 2 minutes. So have you got a life hack for us? If not, Joe,
I have.
Excellent.
So my life hack is don't do stuff you don't want to do. So I grew up thinking that, you just got to suck it up and do what it takes. And I still do prescribe to that thinking. But certainly in my later years, I've realized that if you can replace the jobs that you really don't like doing, then it gives you a whole lot more energy and bandwidth for the things that are going to move the needle. So, for instance, I absolutely hate cleaning. And I used to make myself do it because I thought that's what a mother should do. But now I don't. It's just not in my repertoire anymore. And it just really frees me up to think about other things. And it's not even just the time that you spend doing it. It's all the mental sort of thinking about it that really sucks up your bandwidth. So that's my hack.
That's a good one. So does the house get cleaned though? That's...
Yeah. Oh, well, there's a bit of a story to that, because my dream was to have someone every day, but I pushed the cleaner up to 3 days a week, and then everyone complained about it because she was always there. So
once a week seems fine. Like up until recently, we were lucky to get to. I mean, I do some of the things once a week, and some of the things get done once a fortnight even. Just kind of
yeah. We have a robot. The robot does everything. For the floor, at least.
Okay. I must give that a go. But we've got 4 levels, so
wow,
that's 4 robots.
One of those fancy robots that will climb stairs and do all sorts of things.
Cool, yeah. But it sounds flash, but it's not. It's pretty basic. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds flash, and that's all that that's half of what matters. Jeff, what is your life hack, mate? I feel like you've got a good one this week.
No, it's terrible. But, no, look, it's. I used to, when I was younger, I used to be quite not late. I used to be late occasionally, and I still haven't perfected it. So some would argue it's not working, but it's setting my reminders 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes before, so that you kind of say you've got an opportunity to say, "Yep, I've got some time." Now, there's a big risk in that. People can see the risk, but that is my life hack. If I need to be somewhere at 7:20. I should set something for 7:10. So then, I don't know. It sometimes it's effective, and other times it backfires miraculously. But it gets in more on time more often than not. So that's my life hack for this week. Joe, what about you?
I'm all for it. My life hack has something to do with this thing here. So this picture has points on. I'm just going to do it. It has points on both sides. So to get it straight and to like hammer into the wall, obviously you're not hammering it, you're screwing it. It's very tough to be able to get it like wonky. How do you set it up and do that? So what you do is you get someone to hold the thing, set it up, and then get painter's tape along the line there, and then get a level and make sure that your level is okay, right? Wow. So then you stick the tape there, and then you then put the thing and mark where it needs to go, and then it's straight. And then you take the paint off, and then it's just straight as an arrow. That is my life hack. Renovation.
Well done.
Oh,
wow.
What do you think? Oh, no way.
There are things for that, Joe, don't you?
There's an app.
There's an app. Bloody technology. I don't need technology. I got painter's tape.
I tell you, there's a damn good life hack that Joe put out in the group, and check it out on YouTube, folks. So I'm gonna spruik our own YouTube channel. Anyway, check it out. We've got 14 views. So no, hang on, it's 18 now. No, I think, and we've 4x our subscriber count. This is not about our YouTube channel. It's about our first episode and getting into Bernadette. So I'm super pumped to hear about your story, Bernadette. But first,
let's jump into our advertiser for the day.
Let's
talk about commercial property investing. It's one of those areas that confuses many people, probably because of the risks involved, but it's also one of the few asset classes that can give you a very positive cash flow from day one. With commercial property, you get some massive net yields of 6 to 10%. Now, that's not gross, that's net, which means it's cash in your pocket. This is what makes them so amazing. Your property can actually pay itself off within 10 years, grow in value, and without having you to chip in any cash at all. Now, with big rewards comes some big risk, which is why you should de-risk your investment as much as possible. The way you do this is with expert due diligence. This is why we highly recommend hiring professionals to help you along in your investing journey. Steve Polisi of Polisi Property is one such expert. He is one of Australia's top commercial property buyer's agent. With his own multi-million-dollar property portfolio of a mix of commercial and residential, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He's the guy you want in your corner, crunching the numbers, finding the best properties in the best location, along with the ways to avoid the dud properties. Steve has even been the one to write the book on commercial property investing in Australia, and it's a bestseller. He's been generous enough to give us a massive discount to our audience of 50% with the code OZPROP. Click the link below, get a copy today, and start your commercial property investing journey.
So I just muted myself. That was very seamless, except for me forgetting to unmute myself. So thanks for jumping on, Bernadette. So I want to get straight into giving you an intro, because you have had an amazing story, and you started you did your first reno at 13. I think that's going to be a fun potential story to jump into. It was on a farm on the local sort of place, from what I remember. You retired from nursing at 29. You've been renovating for over 30 years. I would say that I don't know how, that's been amazing. You've been doing that. I think you probably started at 13 if you count the 30 years. So you only started making real profit, though, when you outlawed do-it-yourself. We're going to dig into that. And another kind of highlight for me in your journey, aside from doing ridden a bike for 500 kilometers in 5 days, that is really good going. As having a dad who's, it is. That's epic in blistering heat as well. And the other thing, though, the highlight was you said you made 600K investment of 95K in a deal that took 30 days. So I don't know. Should we just start with that? Or is that should we wait for? Are we spoiling it if we start with that one?
Well, I've got lots of other good stories, so let's start with that. So I'm sure you know my friend Scott Agate. So
you know Scott.
So basically, it's an interesting story. So basically, when I had a bit of an aha moment, probably about 10 years ago, let's say, and I realized that I wasn't well enough prepared for retirement. And so I decided to do a bit of shuffling to get sort of organized. And I bought 2 properties. One we live in now. The other one was a development site in the west of Sydney. And I kept thinking I must do that. And then this year, I decided I better do it. So I went and saw the town planner, and he said, sorry, you need 2 blocks now, because during the bushfires last year, the Penrith Council changed the planning laws, and you've got to have the double frontage to do townhouse development. And so then I was looking at it thinking, okay, so if I had 2 frontages, I could develop. And so I spoke to the neighbour and ended up buying his house with the help of Scott as a negotiator. And so I bought it for $950,000, which was really surprising, because I really thought, well, I knew he had us over a barrel and could have asked a lot more, but he didn't. And so put a deposit down on that, and then we packaged it up and resold it, both the blocks, mine and his, for 1.25 million. So we made 600 grand in that deal over the 30 days. And so I made the decision to sell rather than develop for a few reasons. And one of them is that developing, particularly at the moment, is really not for the faint-hearted. Like, I've never been one to shy away from a challenge, but I really feel with COVID, the price of building and so on, and the price of land, that it really is for the committed developers. And I could see far more potential in other strategies, which we're going to talk about tonight. And I probably made more out of the deal than I would have made if I developed it. So that's the long and the short of it.
So did you get a DA created, like on the deal? You didn't even, not even DA approved.
No, the reason I didn't was because that would take more time. And I just decided, and to be honest with you, I was surprised at how much we got. I thought
that's insane.
I thought we'd get 1.2 million each, but we ended up getting, significantly more. And so there you go. That's my biggest payday out of one deal so far.
Yeah, I actually grew up in the area as well, so I know exactly the street that it's. I'm very familiar. So I think that's mental what that person did. I'd like to, if I ever need to sell a property, I might reach out to the person who bought the property and saves us if they want to pay me an extra 20 or 30% more than what they should have. That's fantastic though. Good stuff. So should we? Joe, you jump into your first question, mate, and then I'll ask mine.
Well, first question we always like it to be, what book are you currently reading, Bernadette? What is your intake?
I just got that out. This is the book I'm currently reading, Meant for More.
Wow.
Yeah.
Meant for More.
When I say currently, I've only just started it. And the one before it was called something about consciousness. I wish I could remember the title because it was really good. But anyhow, there you go. That's what I'm reading.
Okay.
Do you remember the author? Because
can't remember any of it. So I got
must have been a fantastic book.
I was reading it thinking, this is totally transforming, and now I can't remember. There's been a lot happen in the last month.
It's a lot going on. It's gone into your your unconscious, or it's been I love it. That's really.
I'm all for it. Now, we did speak a little bit about your background. Maybe it is a good place to start, like to go back to the beginning. So you started renovating at 13. That's an early age.
Like renovating's probably, I'm using the term quite loosely. So I grew up on a farm, and I really had this desperate desire to improve my life. And, when you're a 13-year-old girl living on a farm, feeling quite isolated, the only thing that I could do really was do something about my room. And very fortunately, I had a mother who was all for, me pushing the boundaries. So it was in the 70s, so I did the 70s wallpaper and pretty much painted everything that didn't move. And it was probably ghastly, but to me, it was incredibly empowering. I really got the idea that by changing your surroundings, you have this incredible power to change the way you feel about yourself. And
Wow.
so from that day on, I was really addicted to renovating. Now, there's a downside to that, which I'll talk about in a minute. But so then I went on to renovate the family bathroom. Oh, and so which required tiling, of which I could do none. But I had a bricklayer boyfriend who was a rubbish boyfriend, but a great tiler. So he came and did the tiling. And yeah, so then I went on to bigger and better things. So I've done lots of like makeovers and renovations, and it's really been the thing that's really fueled my life. And I love it to this day. Yeah. And so I'll just forward that story on a bit. So I met my husband, who is he's in the building industry, and he also, by the time I'd met him, he had a few renos under his belt as well, and he was equally as committed to the concept. And I actually thought that we were a match made in heaven from a renovation or in a property point of view, because he was incredibly skilled. He could build roof frames and tile and lay bricks and whatever. And I had the design flair. So I thought that we were going to
Dream
really
team.
do amazing things. But, and we did a lot of different projects. We had to go at like just about everything, you know, like subdivision, small development, heritage work. We did lots of things. But the problem was that we were really down in the trenches with the work, and we renovated in the same way that a builder would renovate. And I got to a stage where I sort of got quite despondent, because I realised that we were barely making wages on what we were doing. Like, we were working. And that was when I had a bit of an aha moment. I was quite late in life, and I realised that we needed to change something, because what we were doing was not what we were getting to, you know, was not getting us to where we wanted to be. Yeah. And so that's when I made a switch. And, you know, mentioned outlawing DIY. That's a hard thing to do when you're really committed to it. So, yeah. So
it's kind of like changing the structure of the way that you do your business, right? Yeah. So what does that mean? So you used to go in and absolutely tear the place apart and then refix it back together and have minimal help doing that, because obviously it's so much more affordable, right? You don't pay for labor. It's so much it's not quicker necessarily, but it's easier. You know, he knows what he's doing. He's great. You know, he wants a weekend off. He can have a weekend off. He has another weekend off. He can have another weekend off. I'm not paying for trades. I'll do it.
I want to make this. I want to kind of hammer home the different. Let's kind of contrast the DIY versus kind of outsourcing. So tell us, when people are DIY, and you've probably done a lot of DIY. What are the top 3 mistakes that a lot of people make when they do it themselves, or the misconceptions?
So the main thing is, the other thing is that I have to admit, I am addicted to flipping. I absolutely love it, because it's a real adrenaline rush. And
I am too. Yeah.
Great. Well, you're in good company. And so the thing is, when you are flipping, that when you're looking at a property to buy, when you DIY, you tend to not count or factor in the work that you do yourself. You think, oh no, I don't need to budget. I'm going to do it. So what happens is that you end up working for nothing. And it just really drives you into the ground, and it's really a highway to nowhere. And I realized that in order to be able to make it profitable, I needed to buy the right property. And that was where we were going wrong. We weren't putting enough research into it. We were just working on a wing and a prayer, really. And we would buy something that we knew we could fix up. But every second house, you know, you can fix up and make it look great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's profit in it. And so we had to get a whole lot more strategic. I had to sort of sack my husband, not because he's not good at what he does, but because he's too good at what he does. And he can pretty much do everything. And I had to draw the line and say, this is not working, and our weekends are misery, and we need to change the way we're operating. And so, like, that happened a long time ago, over a decade ago. And so I had to get really strategic, making sure that when I bought something, that it had enough money in it to be able to pay trades and make a profit without us doing the work.
Yeah. So it sounds like if I'm unpacking, I'm just taking the actionable. So you got the first one, I suppose, is people don't factor in where they're trying to do it themselves. They don't factor in their own what they should pay themselves. They pick the wrong property because, as you say, there's oodles of properties out there you could renovate. Doesn't mean you should. And I think the third one then is actually is trying to necessarily just do it all yourself. I suppose that's the three big things you would sort of say, the mistakes that people make in DIY, would you say, Bernadette?
Yeah. And it's really hard when you can do a lot of stuff that you tend to think it's really hard to pay someone to do it when you know you could do it and you can save all that money. And like, I still have a few pangs, but I don't go there. Like, you know, like, it doesn't mean it. I'll do some things, like if I can, you know, I don't know, paint something rather than bring the painter back or do something minor, then I'll absolutely do it. For instance, one of our projects in Sydney at the moment, because of COVID, I said to Stephen, he only works 4 days a week, so he really should be doing something, just saying. Can you do something? So the bathroom, the render had been through, and there are a couple of areas that needed flushing before we could lay tiles. Can you go and do it? Because if I have to bring someone in to do it, it's a pain in the neck because of COVID. Getting someone for that tiny little job, they'll charge me a whole day. So he did it. And yeah, it's probably the first time he's done anything for probably about 6 months because, yeah. But anyhow, there you go.
Part marriage counselling here as well.
I hope he's. So, and now contrast that, because one of the things that we had in the list of questions was when you decided to outlaw do it yourself and becoming more strategic. What are the kind of three massive advantages of being strategic or outsourcing the stuff? What are things you find?
Yeah, well, so firstly, anyone that has done any DIY renovating, you sort of tend to dig yourself into a hole and you feel like you're never going to get out of it. So it really frees you of that sensation. Secondly, it means that you get leverage. You can do, like, I've got 2.5 projects on the go at the moment, and I have physically do nothing for any of them. So it means that then you do become entrepreneurial and not just a minion actually doing the work. So then you can start, you know, like if you can do more than one project at once and not burn out, then that's a massive advantage. Yeah.
Yeah. The way I like to look at it is like with property investing is just take the property out of it, right? Which sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but it's a business. You are running a business. You should have an income statement. You should know how much you're going to spend, what you're going to fix up, and you're going to have people that are going to help you do the job. You're going to hire contractors, and you're going to run a business. So how much is your time worth? Is that the best allocation of resources? Maybe not. Okay, great. Then don't do it. Hire someone. Treat it as a business, because otherwise you can start falling down that slippery slope of. And don't get me wrong, when you start out, right, you don't have a whole heap of capital. So maybe you can sleep on a blow up mattress like I did without a roof for a little while. Had the aircon, the heat blasting, which was great. But so you definitely need to go strategic. But what exactly does that mean, right? So what are the main things you outsourced first? Did you just go full outsource and got everything done? Or did you say, okay, here are the first points that I want to...
So I did find, like when we have to do stuff at home, I did find that Stephen was really, I found it quite easy. He struggled giving it up. And so what I did was actually engage someone to come and work with him. So he got less, he was sort of got used to the idea of how easy it could be, and that caught on very quickly. But yeah, so yeah.
So I'm interested in asset allocation for renovation. What are your go-to things when you're looking at a property, right? You go on realestate.com.au, maybe you're not, maybe you're connecting with real estate agents, but what do you look at and go to straight away? What are your first checkouts?
Okay. So I like to do projects that have got at least 100,000 profit in them. Okay. So
okay.
I don't want to go into something unless I know I can achieve that. So that generally means that I'm paying 8, maybe 900,000 for the property, because we factor our feasibilities around 10%. Now, often we do a lot better. But yeah, that's how we work. And basically, I'm looking for something that I can produce an outcome that's going to deliver. For a house, I need about 1.3%, 130% of the buy price back, and for a unit slightly less. Now that's based on a predominantly cosmetic reno. I never do fully cosmetic, but that's based on a cosmetic reno with a bit of a twist. And so most of the projects I do in Sydney are apartments, mainly because now we've got to pay about $2 million to buy a house, like any old house.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of money sitting in your project. And so, but I am doing a house at the moment. And so we went to Newcastle to get that house, because in Newcastle you can buy a house for under $1 million that has 100,000 profit potential. But in saying that, I have got an apartment at the moment, which is in Sydney, that I paid 370,000 for, that I think it'll probably deliver the 100, but that was a super duper buy, and they're not every day. Yeah.
When did you buy it recently, or are we talking like years ago?
I did buy it recently, and the only reason I bought it was because it was so cheap. Like my agent, he rang up and he said, this apartment, like the campaign had gone bad because, the usual story, the owner was unrealistic about the price. They had it pitched too high and then been on the market forever. People think there's something wrong with it. Anyhow, so I bought it for 370, and the next closest price for a similar apartment was 515, sorry. So it was a lot.
Wow.
Yeah. I was going to say, you can't buy a parking space for that price in Sydney.
Well, it almost is a parking space, actually. It's a postage stamp. It's 28.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting one, because you can't, like, the whole lending rules around under 40 square meters.
Yeah, so anything under 50 can be a bit of a challenge.
50.
It's also another thing. We bought it with cash because there's, I don't have lots of cash lying around, but we've done projects with 2 of our young adult children and delivered for them each $100,000, and which has sort of set them up. And they both had money invested, and so did we, getting peanuts. So I said to them, look, this place down the road is really cheap. How about we do a flip instead of putting having the money in the bank? So that's what we agreed to do. There's 3 of us in it. So, yeah.
And how does it work in terms of like $100,000 profit? Is that net profit after all taxes and everything, or is it?
Let me explain. It's after all costs with exception to income tax. So it's after land tax, GST, all those taxes, but income tax we pay individually.
Yeah. After selling it, after the agent's fees, after paying stamp duty after everything afterwards, except for the personal tax, which is going to be different for everyone. Fantastic. $100,000. Yeah. Very lovely deal.
On that, on that kind of, you typically don't look at a reno for below 100K profit. What are some of the criteria when you're hunting for something? What are the top criteria you look at? And this is helpful for anyone, regardless of.
So remember that we're talking about flipping. If we're talking about investment properties, that's
another different.
Yeah, and that's a different strategy. But with flipping, so we used to only do structural renos. Now we don't. Generally, we look for something that we can improve the livability of it, that's a bit more than just a cosmetic reno. And so usually it means opening up the kitchen, living room, and making more open plan. Sometimes it means finding out what the buyer objections were to the property and sorting those out. But generally, that's the best way. Putting the indoor-outdoor thing in, putting a deck on and making sure that you've got outdoor living. If you can increase the number of bedrooms and make sure that you keep the ratio of bathrooms and living rooms acceptable, then that's another great way of really pushing up the profit. So, yeah. So that's probably the key thing. So we look at 5 levels. So then the next one is the obviously modernising. So, 20-year-old properties are really great because they've been built using modern building standards, but they're pretty tired and ugly, so you can improve them. We look at an improvement in comfort, like air conditioning, stuff to make better storage, stuff to make it a better place to live in.
Do you put a dishwasher in to make it easier to do the dishes? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I often put a wine fridge in as well because a wine fridge can often cost less than a cabinet. A wine fridge. Yeah.
There you go. I want to buy one of your renos, Bernadette. Let me know when you're selling one soon.
We will, yeah.
I'll get Scott to negotiate.
Your wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, buyer objections is a really good one to look at. So basically interviewing the agent, and particularly if you can find something that's sold in, I'm talking about apartments now because I'm doing a lot in Sydney. Find something else that's sold in the building, find out what people were saying about it, and you can often get tips out of that. And then the last thing is to really deliver the wow. Now, that's really important. Like, for instance, the last job I did was in Chalmers Street in Sydney, 2-bed, 1.5 bath apartment. And I decided I was going to go for a black kitchen and really go for drama because, that was going to be my wow. But I was standing out the front every day waiting for trades, and I was noticing the people that were living in the building coming in and out, and realised that there was a nationality there that loves things really clean and clinical. And so I thought, you know what, black's not going to work here. We're going to go for white because I know that that's what they will love. But then a white kitchen's really generic. So what I did was got this really amazing paneling, like reeded paneling. And so I did a wall in it. I did a home office, and I also did it along the front of the island bench, and it just took it up a level. And like it cost me maybe $1,000. I'll put a curve on the bench so that, because the thing you've got to think about is when people are scrolling through the real estate pages, they're looking at white kitchen after white kitchen after white kitchen. You've got to do something to make it jump off the page. And that absolutely did. So we got a record price for that. So, yeah.
Did you do an article on that? Or I swear I saw like
yeah, I do lots. Yeah, I probably have. Yeah.
One thing that I want to cycle back to was that you said you interview agents. Well, what does that mean? And what are some of the questions our audience can use to interview agents?
Like if I'm in a building and there's another property being sold in the same building, I will go and talk to that agent and say, okay, so why do you think it got that price? Why don't you think why didn't it do any better? And they will say to you, oh, no, they didn't like the fact that there's no laundry and they've got to go up to the roof. Or they didn't like the fact that it was only a bar fridge and they wanted, a full-size fridge. So you can pick up a whole lot of intelligence just by talking to the other agents. And I personally am really lucky because another tip, if you're planning to flip, find a local agent that you can work with, find someone that's really good so that you've got someone to bounce ideas off. Because like I've been doing this for 30 years, I still need someone to talk through my decisions with and someone who knows. And so we've done some crazy stuff. Like I've been looking for a property and he will say to me, this place is on the rental market and it hasn't rented. What do you reckon we go and talk to it and see if we can buy it because it's, been vacant for so long. So we're always trying to think outside the square, to think of ways of getting an edge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so powerful as well, because there is incentive. A lot of people would be intimidated by doing that real estate agent, but real estate agent can potentially pick up a property manager. They'll potentially pick up a sale down the track or whatever it is. So it's a lot of people think that you can't do that because it's like you're going to waste their time. But I mean, I suppose you have to be respectful. But yeah, that's
yeah. And the thing is, you've got to remember, and I learned this probably about 5 years ago, for real estate agents, if you go to any of their conferences, they're all about getting listings. If they don't get listings, they don't survive. And so they know, my agent knows that if he finds me a property, he will be selling it. Okay. So that's an indirect, like he wouldn't be selling it if he was crap. So he's good. I know that. But so that indirectly he's getting himself listing. So I don't see it as an imposition on him at all.
no, exactly.
Yeah, it's just a trade of time for a lead source. It's just a lead source manager. He's just managing you in his CRM. If he hasn't heard from you in a while, I'm sure you'll get a call. It's how the game's played. So when you're assessing some properties for a renovation, what are some of the things that you say, heck no, it's got X? What just turns you away straight away?
If it's got something that I can't fix, basically, if it's on a road, a bad road, or most things you can fix if you've got the budget for it. So you've always got to know whether you've got the budget. And often if something is really bad, like active termites or something like that, often that's an opportunity because that freaks everyone else out. So that, and I'm not saying you go in gung-ho, you make sure that you negotiate down the price to cover the cost of fixing the problem. But that's
So every problem's solvable as long as you understand the money situation, and always get quotes in writing as well. Don't just get a, hey, yeah, I'll do it for $3,000, and then you buy the thing, and then whoa, that's going to be $50,000. Get it in writing, and then you've got it there. Talking about buying. You mentioned you get this $100,000 profit. Now, how do you make that? Do you make that on the buy side of things? You negotiate incredibly well. Do you do it is it the end? You bump up the sale? Like, how do you get this $100,000, and how are you so confident that you're going to get it?
You would know that the market dictates what you get for the property. So you can't say, I'm not selling this unless I get so much. So you need to do it going in. The other thing is, these days, I don't really buy my own properties. I have buyer's agents that I work with. That's been a new development over the last, say, 5 years. And I'm also using Scott Agate a lot. Because seriously, and particularly as a woman, you do get a lot of, what's the word?
Dickhead agents, basically. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, like they'll tell you, and look, I could, seriously, I could write a book on all the rubbish I've been told. But anyhow, and so I can just Pardon?
I was going to say we love agents, but I mean, in any industry, there's always that kind of stigma, and there's the So I agree. You're outsourcing that as well. Like you found ways to. How you feeling there, Joe? You all good, man? Like
I just got something in my. I got something in my eye. A little teary about the agents.
So well, I'm interested to know before we because there's so many. We've already been chatting for quite some time. So for the audience out there, they're doing their first or their third or their fifth reno. How do you? What sort of research do you do on the market to look at comparables? Like how much research? Do you do a lot of research?
Yeah. Like seriously, we would research for a minimum. If you're buying your own property, you need to research for a minimum of 3 months. And like I'd want to look at about 100 properties that, and more so in the selling category. Like you want to try.
Listing is not really relevant. Yeah.
And the problem is when you first get started. Is my light fading? I feel like it is, but anyhow. When you first get started, you won't find fully renovated properties. It's very rare that you'll find something that's at the same level as what you're going to produce. So for a start, it can be a bit, there's some guesswork in it. And And so that's why I always say when you're getting going, you want to be quite conservative about it. Don't be too gung-ho. Like it's taken me like 30 years to get here to figure out what's what. And as I said, I have got a few buyer's agents that I use who are able to do that for me. So when they go and find a property, they'll come back, they'll say, okay, I think you can get this for it. I think it's got your 100 grand in it. If you don't spend any more than say 120 grand. And so I'll look at the comparables that they give me and I know that I can deliver the quality. So, and that's really important. When you're selling renovations, you've got to be able to deliver quality. And that is a problem when you're relying on feedback from agents because they don't know you. And one person's renovation can be completely different to another person's renovation. So when you say you deliver good quality, is it really? And so there's always that, I don't know. So, when you're getting started, it's a bit challenging. But once you have started to deliver and that you've got your system in place, you're meeting your market, they're loving it, and then you can just rinse and repeat, keep doing the same thing, delivering the same outcome. I've got a couple in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, and they do one project a year and they do around about $250,000 profit on every project. They do much better than I do. I look at their renos and I think I would love to do something way more creative than that, but they've got a system that works. Their market loves it, and so why change it?
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't necessarily fix it. I mean, sometimes you do need to, but no.
Yeah. So
if it is broken, maybe fix it.
But yeah, that's maybe renovated, Joe. But yeah, should we? There's potentially heaps of different questions. We want to dig into the micro development. I think I want to dig into that. Should we do our one? We've mentioned several times. Should we just play the ad, Joe? We're running on 40 minutes.
I think we have an ad for Scott Agate, but I feel like Bernadette, you've already run it. We don't need to. Don't need to give him.
I'd like to hear the ad.
Hear the beautiful. It's actually a really good ad. He is a.
The end of it, if I do him out of his ad.
Yeah, you do. You be the judge of this. Let's play it.
Thanks very much, Chris.
Agate, you would have seen him on the 7 p.m. project campaigning against agent underquoting. Scott is an expert negotiator through and through. Every single day, he is negotiating with real estate agents to get the best price for his clients. To give you a bit of a background, Scott has been working in real estate since 1995 and as a real estate agent built up 3 Bell franchises. He was the guy teaching the agent all the tips and tricks to get the most out of the buyers. However, Scott realised that there was actually no one on the side of the person buying the property, and he saw them constantly letting emotion get in the way and paying way over for the property. And that's why he created Hello House, Australia's first property negotiation as a service business, where he is on the side of the buyer. In hot markets like we have now, you need absolutely every single edge that you can get. These agents are trained professionals and they are there to get the most money out of you, which is why you need to have an expert of your own in your own corner. The way it works, you find the property, then Scott will come in at the negotiation phase and take over for you. This is how you'll get the property for its true value. He'll ensure that you don't overpay. He comes in, knocks the real estate agent down on price. No more agent games, no more tricks, no more tactics. He is there for you. Scott has been kind enough to offer us an amazing discount on his service, and I've personally just seen a friend pay $20,000 more on a property because of these agent games. Reach out to him with the link below. It'll be the best property investment you will ever make.
What are your thoughts, Bernadette? I don't know about you, but I'm inspired to go and negotiate on property.
Well done. Yeah. He's actually negotiating on one for us at the moment. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
What? Because one, actually, it might be worthwhile chatting a little bit about it. Like from your side of things, right? Why do you use Scott as a negotiator? Why do you hire a negotiator?
Because that wouldn't, if I didn't, so this is actually for my brother who I sort of look after his affairs. If I didn't, then I would be spending, 2 or 3 days backwards and forwards on the phone. And like I used to love the thrill of the chase, but I don't anymore because I've got too much else to do. And so And the thing that I like about him is that I trust him, and it's hard to trust someone in that role. I trust him to get the best price, to get it for the best price. And the other thing is, I know that agents will tell him things that they won't tell me because I'm a client. Buyer's agents seem to are able to get that information. An agent has a duty of care to his vendor, and so they're not going to let anything out to me as a client. So that's why.
They can just talk on business levels. I know what your outcome is, Mr. Agent. You know what my outcome is. Let's just get to the bottom of this. You don't need these agent games. You don't need to tell me all this nonsense. Let's just get it done.
So it's a time thing, and it's and he's a real estate, like he actually started the Bell agency that was where in my area.
You've probably bought off him.
I haven't actually, but I have bought from that. He left before I turned.
I wouldn't want to buy off Mr. Agate if he were to go back to the dark side of agents. But we digress. So Mike, let's kind of change gears a little bit, and there's some cracking questions in the thing as well. We will get to those questions. Free questions, free comments, your thoughts, everybody. What's your thoughts on negotiating on renos? So, but what I want to hear next up, Bernadette, is micro developments. Tell us a little. Is this something you're really excited about, or like?
I am actually, and I already have. So, for those of you who don't know, I have a community of women that I lead in being able to improve their life with renovating and property, and I have quite a few of them into micro development as well. And so basically what it is so I mentioned that I really feel that unless you're really hell-bent on development, like townhouse development or any other development, micro development I think is the sweet spot. And the thing that you may not know is women in particular really love that process of renovating. They really love the aspect of taking something really ugly and turning it into a really beautiful home. And so for that reason, they're attracted to renovating. But renovating is not investing. Renovating, it's when you don't work. If you're flipping, when you don't work, you don't get paid. And whereas micro development is really a blend of the two. So you still get to do your reno, you still get the adrenaline rush of selling it, but you've got something to hold. So basically what you do is you buy a property on a piece of land that is big enough to be able to add something onto it. And that's ideal if it's a corner block. And you renovate the house and sell it. And so that you put that money back into the deal so that you end up with high equity, high cash flow, and you keep the new house. Now, so there's three things that I love about it. One is that you're using domestic borrowing, so residential borrowing, not commercial. Two, that you're using residential builders. And three, that the renovation actually improves your equity in the deal. So, and there's lots of different, you can stack other strategies on it. So the other thing that we really love is high cash flow. And so things like Airbnb, if you buy in the right area, you can use that to increase your cash flow from the properties that you hold. The other thing is the reason you sell the old house and not the new, for a few reasons, but one, so that you don't pay GST, because if you were to sell a property that you newly built within 5 years, you'll pay GST on it. So keep it, it's lower maintenance. So that's
there's also generally depreciation, I imagine. But yeah, as always, speak to your accountant, speak to your quantity surveyor. They'll give you the goods on that.
So with those profits from the original sale, is there any kind of weird stuff that's going on that allows you to funnel those profits into the same property? Because it's the same property, is there like
a capital gain?
That's where you need to work with your accountant, because unfortunately, the tax department gets you at every turn. But
every clip.
Whether or not it's tax-free or not, it's still money going back into the deal. And so Whereas, so we basically work on 10, sometimes 20% profit. In a micro development deal, you can be doing closer to 30%, and
Wow.
and just keep that money in the deal so that you've got the high cash flow, so there's so that you can keep it for a long time, and just maybe pull out your deposit and go to the next one. But yeah, so that's why I think it's such a great strategy. I did a podcast with one of my students recently. She did a similar thing, but she basically moved a house to one side. So she slid a house across. She did it with a JV partner, and then she brought in a prefabricated house onto the other side. And they 300,000 profit each on this deal in Barrow. So, you know, depending on where you buy it, you can do amazingly well. So particularly for my generation, that, you know, it's no secret that most women in my generation do not have enough superannuation, nowhere near enough. And that's a really great way to make up ground really quickly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the
sorry, go, Jeff.
I was going to say, so are the things that make a renovation project feasible? I mean, obviously there's different renovation, you're doing cosmetics and stuff, but do you do roughly the same due diligence on the property itself, the area, all these kind of things to reverse engineer it? Is it a similar process?
Yeah, it is a similar process. And like, there's a few things, like, you know, we've just bought in Newcastle. Big thing in Newcastle is property due diligence. Is mine subsidence. So having, you know, it's really good to have good specialists to talk to figure out, you know, most people see mine subsidence and freak, but often that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a deal. So just have.
What's it called? Sorry,
mine subsidence.
Because it's a coal mining town, or is it was coal mining? It's still coal mining.
Yeah. And the other thing about micro development is that you really do need a good town planner in your pocket, because a lot of the deals, the best deals, are the ones that aren't immediately obvious. So you need someone who understands the local council, who can really push the envelope, because that's when the big wins really happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so what's the difference between a micro development and a normal development? So some of the key points that you pointed out were residential lending, and then being able to renovate as well. Are there any other kind of key differences that you?
So it's really so generally speaking, it's a 1 into 2. Okay.
Right.
So you might be able to get a duplex on the back, or rather than just a single dwelling. You might start it out as a dual lock. So it's it's small. That's what it is. Yeah.
And just going. Sorry, keep cutting you off, Jeff.
No, that's right.
One of the things that kind of stuck out to me was that buying and selling, right? You're flipping these properties over and over again. We have a lot of first-time, second-time investors that have a couple of grand in their pocket, not necessarily a couple of $100,000 in their pocket. So what is your advice to somebody on a $300,000 purchase price, 350, that they should be doing? Should they be flipping it, or should they be buying and renovating and holding it? Like, what are your thoughts around that lower tier?
I have a rule about any property. You don't sell stuff that's not your family home unless there's a really good reason to. So, you know, like, so flipping is a way to replace your income. But if you don't need to replace your income, I would not be flipping. Okay. And so a lot of the people that I talk to, or that work with us, people that have been hell-bent on doing this forever, and they want to replace their income, so they flip. So, you know, like, but for most people, $100,000's enough to live, and so they will flip, once they get that 100,000 coming in on a regular basis, then they can start looking at what they can do in order to hold property as well.
And it's kind of almost like a leapfrog, almost like a leapfrog strategy, where you flipping to then eventually hold 1, 2, 3, how many ever properties it needs to be.
Yeah. And so, and I think that is a bit of, it is a bit of a, like I've sold too many properties. There's no doubt about that. But it's really, if you want to be strategic and end up well off as a result, then you really do need to hold some stuff. And I really think that unless you absolutely have to, you should not sell an investment property, because you are paying tax on that. Like if you sell your family home, that increase that you make goes into your pocket. If you sell an investment property, half of it goes to the tax department, because if you've made an extra $100,000, well, you're into the next tax bracket, and that, so, and I would suggest to someone that has maybe 1 or 2 properties that they look at only spending as much as they need to increase the yield, so that they're getting more cash flow from it, so it enables them to do other things. And if they need more equity, then maybe to increase that as well. But yeah.
So if someone's
sounds like a bit of a seesaw there. Like you don't want to, if you overcapitalize too much, then you're not going to get the rental increase. You're not going to get the equity uplift as well, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if someone had $50,000, they're a 25-year-old professional single lady out there, and they're ready to put a deposit down, should they be flipping a $350,000 property, or should they be renovating it, holding that bad boy?
This is a general example as well, folks. All this stuff is general. You have to go and we're not saying go and do this. You've got to look at your own circumstances, of course.
Thanks so much for that, Jeff, for being all responsible. So contrary to what Robert Kiyosaki says, I think that the family home, so having a PPOR, is the best investment you can have. Okay.
Oh, big call.
Yeah.
We should get Robert on here. Let's get Kiyosaki to have a chat with.
Actually, my marketing guy James was Robert Kiyosaki's marketing guy. So
I've
got a direct line if you want him. But
I don't know what we'd ask him.
Right, because I talk to a lot of people. So when someone comes into our program, I have a little bit of a chat with them about what they've done so far, what they've bought. So I see where they're at. And from what I can see, most Australians over 40, their family home represents the bulk of their wealth. Okay. And so, and it's fine to say, yeah, I'll go and buy something somewhere else. A lot don't do that, and they spend more money than they should because they don't have a mortgage. And so, yeah, I just think that that's the smarter way to go, because you end up with an asset that that if you don't want to keep it, you can sell it for megabucks. And yeah, so.
It's forced savings, basically, because otherwise, if you people say that it's all about rent vesting is the way to go, and others say, well, the problem with rent vesting is you have to be disciplined enough to actually put that money into an investment, make it work. So it kind of comes down to how disciplined you are, which a lot of us probably aren't.
Yeah, and if you can afford to live where you want to be, right? Like, yeah, like I look at my own situation. If I could afford to buy in my area, and I was too excited about investment property, and if I bought in my area, I would have done incredibly well. Maybe not as well as with the investment, but like if I was just a normal everyday person, buy, and you can afford your area, and you want to live there for a long time. PPOR is tax-free. Buy, renovate that bad boy, flip it tax-free, move next door. Buy, renovate, flip it, move next door.
Be careful on how many times you do that, though, because
do be careful.
It can turn into a business. It's no longer so of course, this is never tax advice.
It's like with anything, though, whenever you so something that I always do is before I buy something, I always have a conversation with my accountant about it. Because, what entity should I buy it in? Because, once you've bought it, the only way you can move entities is by paying more stamp duty, and nobody wants to do that. but also negotiating your tax burden. You really do need to get professional help with that. And you're right, you can't go climbing the property ladder using renovation and not expect to pay some tax. But I'm talking about the scenario where someone genuinely buys a family home, lives in it for 5 years, decides they want to move somewhere. So my suggestion is, don't ever sell your family home unless you renovate it to maximise your return, because otherwise you're just leaving a lot of money on the counter. Anyhow.
Is there is there a message around equity? I feel like you deal with a lot of ladies and gentlemen that are haven't potentially bought an investment property. They've been sitting in it for 30 years. There's a boatload of equity. How do you kind of say, like, look, guys, there's equity here. You can use this. Like, I don't know. Is there something around there that you could talk to?
Oh, so I definitely do say that. But see, often that they will be at a point where they can no longer have the serviceability. However, I've got a solution, because we now do, like, for about the last 5 years, I've been trying really hard to solve the joint venture problem, because I have that. I have women who work full time and get a great loan, but don't have the cash, and other women who have heaps and heaps of equity or cash and can't buy a project because they don't have the borrowing capacity. And so probably in the last year, I finally found a solution. So we work with a company who facilitates joint ventures, because prior to that, I was doing it, and it was a pain in the neck and a legal liability. Yeah. And so now if someone comes to me and says, I want to do a joint venture, but I don't have the cash, I normally have someone in my community that has enough cash. They team up together and they do the project together, and it just works so much better. And so, and also for like millennials, like I've been doing some work with it's called the Ladies Finance Club. A lot of young women who've got on good money but can't that don't have the cash to get started. So if I team them up with someone who's later in life and has the cash, then it really is a good match. And I have a couple that have just sold a project last week, did their first project, sold it, made about 106,000 between them, 4-month renovation. So they'll do 12 a year.
Did you say 12 month?
4 months.
Oh, okay, good. I was thinking, gosh, that's a big boy. So hang on, just going back. So what is this company? And maybe don't name it. We don't want to.
We'll talk about it offline, Joe.
Yeah. So basically, they manage the structure. So it's not cheap, but as far as I'm concerned, it's cheap because it takes away a lot of the risk, not all the risk, but a lot of it. And they manage the structure, and that leaves me to focus on the reno. And so
I love that. I love that you outsource so much stuff, because you see the opportunity. You're like, I can't do this deal because I don't have time. Oh wait, yes I do, because I can outsource to Scott to do the negotiation. I now buy my time back. I then outsource it to a builder, to a town planner to go through it. He's going to do a lot better the job than I am. And then I was also listening to some of your other stuff. You get a paint consultant.
Yeah, I do. If I'm doing an investment property or something quick and dirty, I've got go-to colors. But yeah, seriously, paint colors. Anyone that's done a lot of renovating would know you can spend a lot of time toing and froing with test pots, and but you can bring a consultant in. They can give you all your colours in a couple of hours. Then when your painter comes along and he says, what colour do you want? You whip out your schedule and say, here it is. Yeah.
Love it. That's amazing. We're getting just past the hour, so I want to respect your time. And I know Joe's probably starting to feel it. Maybe he's not. But we did have some really cracking questions. We did have some really good questions come through earlier as well, submitted earlier on. So somebody asked what the name of the company is. I don't know. I don't even want to necessarily flood them. So I don't.
just send me an email and I'll tell you the name of the company. Just
Yeah.
listen to any of our material. I talk about it everywhere. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're comfortable naming the company, I don't mind. I'll leave that to you. But you can flick Bernadette an email. We'll let or maybe your admin team will send it to there. So Yazan asks, how the risk, or how is the risk shared with those joint ventures? I think that's, interested in your perspective. I've got my perspective as well. Bernadette, how is the risk shared?
So I have a belief that you should wear as much of the risk as you're taking of the profit. So if you have two people going in there and they're splitting the profit 50-50, they should split the risk 50-50 as well. And so that's how it's shared.
Yeah. It's easy as that. I've been looking into game theory, which is all about like around structuring and stuff like that. And it gets so complex, and it's 50-50, like just 50-50. It's easy as that. That's all it has to be. You don't need to go.
There's a couple of different ways. You can split it up into 4 pieces of pie. You can go, who's got the experience, who's on the tools, or who's managing it, who's got the money, and who's got the borrowing capacity. And 25% allocated to each of those. That's another method. You can do any,
Actually, the project that I'm doing in Newcastle at the moment, I've got 14 joint venture partners.
Jeez.
What? Sorry. Can you talk to that a little?
Well, because we teach renovating, and we always have a project on the go, and it's always our project. And I thought, actually, we've got a student who's a financial planner, and she said to me, why don't you see if anyone wants to invest in a project? And so I put the call out and said, who wants to invest in a project? And I had about 20 people say, yeah, I want to. So I said the minimum they could invest is 50,000. Oh, and then the maximum was 100. So out of those 20 people, I ended up with 14. And so that means we don't have banks, and we just go and do it. And it's sort of like a learning experience where they've got some skin in the game, but not like, obviously, because it's my business, if it goes pear-shaped, it's on me, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gives them sort of quite a
ownership.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's a fantastic idea. And do you do that through a unit trust?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
This
question here that just came up, I was like, damn it, that was going to be one of my ones.
this is Chris, and Chris has been probably in the group for probably 12 months, so he's been in and around. So he seems to be,
and he's done some sensational renovations. Actually, this is probably a really relevant question.
This is a different Chris. This is Chris. Actually, no, hang on. This is Chris Giuseppe. This is not Chris Seibart.
Oh, sorry, mate. Okay.
Different Chris.
Okay. Anyway.
Common name.
I'm sure he's still done some amazing renovation. But so basically, I'm currently renovating, not interstate, but I can't go there. And so I'm having to really hone my remote renovating skills. And so the first thing I would say is, getting your team together. I'm fortunate because I have a good buyer's agent. So basically, I've got her team, plus I've got students there. So having a community like you already have, I'm sure that you'll pick up trades. We have a due diligence process. I still put them through that, whether they've been recommended or not. So with COVID, we've got the COVID compliance now. So basically, I run a diary. And so I make sure that I don't have any more than one trade on site. When they get there, they have to... Wow. They have to do the code thing, the QR code. They have to send me through the green tick, and then they have to ring me so I can tell them you can't have people that are sick on site, all the stuff. You need to have really good documentation. I'd say that's probably the best thing I can say with renovating remotely, so that they're not having to come to you for every decision. Like I did one in Queensland, might be the year before last. We're quite well, like going to Queensland and back to check your kitchen's a bit of a challenge. But the problem with it is that they have to make decisions on your behalf, which sometimes aren't what you were planning. But on the whole, it turned out fine. But yeah.
So what does documentation mean? Like if you're got someone doing your kitchen, what do you give them? You say, hey, I want this caboodle and I want these little stick these little strips down here, or like how detailed do you go?
So if you're doing caboodle, that's quite easy because you can just go into Bunnings and get it drawn up. But basically what I do is send the cabinet maker a sketch. Like I usually plan it out myself first. I send the cabinet maker a sketch and then I ask him to give me shop drawings so that I can see that the detail is there. And every time, every kitchen, there is something that's not right about it. So also, you know, like having documenting where PowerPoints have got to go. Your bathrooms are probably the biggest one because there's a lot of detail in a bathroom, and making sure you don't end up with grubby little corners, you know, things like a vanity hard up against a glass shower screen, not a good look. So you've got to find another solution. I should admit that I have a secret weapon in that my son's an architect. And so, like, I still don't engage him unless I need to because it's a cost to the project, and I would only bring him in if I could justify it. But yeah, so there you go.
You get the tips every now and then, though. You get the freebies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I will give him a plug because he's got a great service for renovators. So really, our renovators don't have the capacity, the financial capacity to bring an architect into their job because, you know, we're always. And so what he does for about $500, he will work with you like live and develop your design concept. So basically your floor plan, get that sorted out in one session, which is really awesome. I do use that service.
$500. That is actually a really good point. This is actually really, really good. Because
what's the name of the business? Let's kind of put it in the
let's give him a real plug.
Okay, so it's called Renovator Concepts. Okay. And so and he does what's called a renovator's concept session, because usually the traditional architect model is you go and talk to the architect, you tell them what you want, they go away, draw up a whole heap of drawings, you come back, don't like this, do like that, they go away again. So there's all this toing and froing, and it's expensive. So what he does is you'll send your plan through to him. Like you might have bought it and you'll just have the real estate plan. You send it through to him, he will meet you on Zoom, and basically he will workshop it on Zoom. You want, you know, oh yeah, I want a pantry, I want this, I want that. And so at the end of that session, you won't have working drawings, you will have concept plan for an architecturally designed property, and it makes a difference. And so then you have the choice, you know, often you can just take that to your builder and say, this is what I want, and they can produce the architect, you know, the draftsman plans. Or you might want to have them fully executed. But it just means that someone on a tight budget has the opportunity to have a well-designed property. And like, he is not a cheap architect. He's done big jobs. Like he did Barangaroo House in Sydney. He did the Lavender Bay boat shed. Like he has worked for very high-end companies, but he has a passion for making sure that good design is available to everyone. So,
fantastic. Yeah. I love that. One of my renovation projects, I didn't even look at it to put it into a 2-bedroom into a 3-bedroom. I looked at it as a 2-bedroom and it worked. Like financially it worked. And then I was speaking to the property manager, who is an absolute secret weapon in your toolkit, right? You're talking about talk to your real estate agents, talk to your property managers. They know the demographics. They know what they want. They know how you can get them maximizing the rent. Be friends with them. And then she's like, why don't you just put a wall here? And I was like, oh, there's enough thing and I can do that. She's like, yeah. And then I go to the builder guy and he's, that'll be $1,500. Oh, okay. Well, how much will it increase? I did the numbers, an extra 30, 40 grand just added just like that. So if you've got you don't necessarily have a property manager that might be able to give you all that information. Jump on with, what's his name? Jason? No, that's Janson's your last name. you don't want to call him Jason Janson.
Oh no, David. It's David.
David. Okay. Yeah. I love that idea. Yeah. I'm going to use that for sure.
So actually, I don't know, but sometimes he goes online and will actually do live sessions, so it might be
I
something.
tried to tag his Facebook. Is it? If it was, yeah. Anyway, I'll let you. I'll tag you in it. So if you want to tag his company, I tried to look it up. But, yeah. So let's kind of throw to some more questions, because there was some really, and there was one from Jenny that I think you will really get a kick out of. You probably saw it, but we did have one that. So somebody asked anything about any tips for changing carpet and laundry. I'm going to skip over some of the more kind of in the weeds questions, because otherwise we'd literally be here all night. And somebody said, "How do you get a curb bench?" You probably buy it curved. I mean, I imagine. I don't know, is that?
Okay, so let me answer that quickly. Basically, what I did was have the cabinet maker make a template. So he just cut it out, and then gave it to the stonemason. He cut the curve.
Yeah, get it made that way. Cool. I thought that's what the answer. So this one,
that's the answer.
This one's really cool. How would you determine the outcome would be? I think we did. But it'd be good to circle back to this. How would you determine the outcome would be a minimum of 100K? This would be when acquiring a property, making sure you buy it very cheap. I think it'd be worthwhile hammering home how you actually do that, or if we hadn't covered it off enough.
Okay, so buying very cheap, you don't necessarily. I've got this rule. I actually like the vendor to pay my stamp duty. So basically, I like to buy it undervalued to the tune of the stamp duty. So, for instance, the one, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I always feel like I'm on a winner if that happens. And so you want it, and it depends also where you are in the property cycle. You know what? So, because if you're on the way up, then you can afford to be a little bit gung-ho. But if you're right at the top, you know, it's like that offside rule in soccer. If you're out in front, you know, when the market turns, you're in trouble. Okay, so when you're flipping, you've got to think about that, because you know, it reduces your margin. And
it does.
So what's the question? Minimum of 100K. With this will be when acquiring the property, make sure you buy it very cheap. So you've got to make sure that you're in an area where you've got a market that will spend money on a renovated property. So, you know, and so you need to research the resale price of the renovation. Okay.
Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you do the resale?
You look at 100 properties, Joe.
Well, yeah, if you're doing it yourself, you do. You look at lots of properties. Like when I used to do my own buying, if I moved into a new area, I would spend months going to opens, and I would keep doing it until I felt confident that I could predict the sale price of the renovated property. Once I got to that stage, I knew I was in a position that I would be able to buy and do it wisely. But now I have buyer's agents that do it for me, basically.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I like about renovation is that it's any market, any position of wherever the market is, it doesn't really matter too much. Yes, you can ride the wave, but what are your views on renovation as a strategy, no matter what the property clock is saying? Do you agree or?
You just need to be really careful when it's much easier to do in a steady market or a rising market. It's challenging if the market is declining. Now, in 2019, I had 3 projects on the go, and all of them I couldn't sell any of them because the bottom dropped out of the market. You remember when there was the Royal Commission into,
And
so, yeah, and if you've based your feasibility on sound thinking, technically you just hang on to the property for as long as it takes for the market to recover. And that's the thing, you know, you've got to be willing to do that. And so that's what we did, and we came out of it fine. We made profit, and quite as much as I would have liked to have, but I was happy with the outcome. And given the circumstances, like that was unprecedented what happened. Like the bottom just dropped out of the market in, you know, a couple of days. So prepare for the
worst. That. Yeah. I like it. So, okay, well, people, pop some comments into the question box.
This will be, I reckon this will be the last question because we are going to try and make this shorter and sharper, and we're getting there. It's all about incremental change, people. We'll get there. But we just love talking to you so much, Bernadette. That's why we've let it run a little longer than what we would have. But the one question I wanted to, because Jenny, I've known Jenny virtually through Facebook for a number of years, and I'm just going to pop the question in, and it's a bit of a mouthful, so bear with us. But okay. I think this is going to be powerful. I think this will really hit home with yourself. So I'll get it up there. So sorry, we're blocking you out. I'll put myself on the top so that you and you can't see me.
Oh, actually, I did read this question. Okay.
Yeah, because I think this is one that I think is going to be powerful because I struggle with this myself, but I think it's for a lot of people that may not have the confidence around about how do you actually kind of build up that skill. Like, I'd love for you to unpack this one, and we'll finish.
So basically, look, and when I was thinking about the answer to this, like, I definitely have a creative streak, but often that is a burden because you basically need to meet the market. Okay, so and the market is often not that sophisticated. Okay, so you look around, you see what people like in renovations, look at the properties that are on the market, seeing what they like, and you just emulate that and you copy that. And once you get, so I mentioned the couple that make $250,000 every project.
It's the suburb of Sydney.
Yeah, they always do their bathrooms with white tiles on the wall and concretey grey on the floor. And I personally think it's a bit boring, but they do it and they make more profit than I could ever poke a stick at. So, so it's about working out what your market wants, not being too brave for a start, because I have a lot of people that have the flair and they say, so when can I let my personal style come into play? And I say,
we're going to put purple wallpaper on the purple velvet wallpaper on the wall. When can I do that one? Never.
No, but you need to get your rhythm first. You've got to be able to produce a project that has really broad appeal. Once you've got that and you're pretty confident in your process, then you can experiment with your style. And some people have got great style that the market loves, and you'll figure that out pretty quickly. But yeah, so that's how I would say you would do it. Follow the real estate. It tells you what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need proven track record. You don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel. I think with Jenny's background, I think she'd actually be fantastic at doing this herself because she's quite an analytical brain. So I think she just probably needs to back herself there.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Put on a pair of Nikes.
Yeah. So I think we'll finish up on that question, of course. But before we do have a couple of housekeeping things. So in the coming week, we're going to have a giveaway. You've been very generous. Do you have a copy of the book there that we're going to give away to people, or you don't have a copy? You don't have a copy? That's okay. I was hoping you had a prop, but we're going to give away 5 copies to people. We're going to a little bit of a giveaway. Bernadette's been generous enough, the book she's co-authored. So stay tuned for that, people. I'll tag, if you want to hear about that, pop book giveaway in the comments, and I'll tag you in that post once we get it out there. And we're going to have a little competition on that. The other thing,
what's the book called?
It's called Secrets of Property Millionaires Exposed.
Exposed. There you go.
Or expose.
Maybe put exposed in the comments if you want me to tag you in the post that we do. Put exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll give away. Okay, cool. So what I wanted to also do is just really thank you and appreciate you for all the work you've done over the years. Been helping kind of potentially an underserved kind of demographic and just kind of giving women and just people more confidence to be able to renovate profitably. So I think it's amazing. So.
Yeah, well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I feel like I've been flying blind a bit, so I'll go back onto the Facebook page and check out the comments afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, how can people get in touch with you? Like, we've been kind of talking about this business, and we've talking about the coaching that you do. Like, what exactly is that, so we can connect the loop?
So I have a business called the School of Renovating, and I have a podcast called She Renovates. So
That's good. I like that name.
So just come over to our Facebook page and say hello. And it's always nice to try and put a face to a name. And if you've got any questions, maybe just send them via Facebook. It's probably the easiest way, and I will endeavour to answer them for you.
Yeah. I love that.
Okay.
So good.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope I have delivered value.
Absolutely, you have. That is guaranteed. I appreciate you taking the time, Bernadette. Thank you. So, have a good night, everyone. Let's go buy a reno property. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.